Hello, my name is Jamie, and this is your Supplierty News for July 2nd, 2021. As always, before we get into it, if you like the content we provide, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you for the last couple people who have subscribed. Like the video, leave a comment, and share with other people you think may be interested in this content. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. For today, we're going to be focusing more so on small businesses and what's affecting them. But as you can see, the first piece that starts out, U.S. economy adds 150,000 jobs in June as unemployment rate ticks higher. Now, previously before this, there's actually been a couple of articles that have shown that, in particular, millennials are leaving jobs at a higher rate now that places are opening up. It appears, based off of the article at least, that I was reading, that people basically, got laid off during the pandemic, and they took on a job just to, have a steady income, during the trying times, in addition to receiving the checks that we were able to get. But now, that we're on the outside of this and people, again, places are now opening up, people are now taking the opportunity to potentially look for new jobs. So while unemployment, while jobs have increased, people getting jobs, that is why unemployment still is going higher, because people are still leaving their jobs in large numbers, even though people are hiring at large numbers as well. So, as you can see here, non-farm payrolls increased 150,000 in June as unemployment ticked up to 5.9% from 5.7% in May. Strong, as you can see here. Beat some expectations, I believe, and plus this is a really huge jump from last month when people were talking about how this is terrible, the doors are closing in, if you will, and things of that nature. Let's see where it says. Yep, here it is. The jobs gains came as at least 26 states have ended or announced plans to end the 300 per week supplemental unemployment benefits that are scheduled to expire in September. Additionally, average hour wages in June increased 3.6% year over year, helping June laborers back to work. So it may be a combination of both there. Obviously, if you get $300 taken away, you will have to supplement that somehow. But more so, I just simply believe that things are opening up, and this is something that I've been constantly preaching. We're really going to see, in particular for small business, we're really going to see what's going on by the end of the summer. That is, again, end of the summer. I've been preaching this through all of my videos. You can go ahead and take a look. And it appears as if now it's about to turn, and we're about to see exactly where we are now that we're out of the pandemic and now that things are opening up. And in my opinion, this just kind of backs what I've been saying. So, again, the report was all out positive for the most part. There are some things here and there that people are concerned about, but overall, it's a pretty good sign. And we will see the big piece here again, in that late August, September timeframe. That's when we're going to see what this all really means. All right. Next up, GOP quiet about Obamacare repeal following third Supreme Court decision upholding law. Now, this is very interesting. And now, what does this matter for small business, right? So, as we've all known, Republicans, since this law has been passed, have been preaching repeal and replace, repeal and replace, repeal and replace. In 2017, Trump was elected president, as well as the Republicans had the House and the Senate, and they had an opportunity to repeal and replace Obamacare. And that's when the entire nation found out that they actually didn't have a plan to replace Obamacare with. While there were certain good suggestions, well, I'm not going to say good is, I guess, relative. The reason why I say good is because I'm talking about small business. And there were some good suggestions on the Republican side, in particular, having small businesses, kind of come together and be able to group their healthcare for a lower cost. Now, that's just one idea, right? Now, there's a lot of other ideas that some people had. But at the end of the day, there was no cohesive idea for Republicans to actually replace Obamacare with. So because of that, no one really supported it in a majority fashion, right? There are people here and there, but I mean, no one can support a plan if you don't have a plan, right? You can bash Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act as much as you want, but if you don't have anything to replace it with, no idea, nobody can support it. So basically, this kind of goes down the rabbit hole of what happened how actually the how people have treated and are reacting to the Affordable Care Act has actually changed through the years. So from 2010 to 2007, or 2011, I should say, to 2017, it was viewed as a negative, and it was kind of switching from sometimes kind of positive, sometimes kind of negative. But since 2017, since Republicans tried to were in power and actually had the power to repeal it, it's actually received positive rankings now, which, I mean, that has come a long way. I'm old enough to remember when the Healthcare Act got passed and it just got killed. I know the Democrats lost basically everything but the presidency at the time. It was just a really bad look for Democrats. But now, this may be one of those pieces where President Obama can say, hey, I was justified in what I did, because 10 years later, people are now saying, you know what, this is actually a pretty good thing. It's something that we can build off of. But the main point that I'm bringing this up is more so the small business piece, which is if you were hoping for some type of grouping that the Republicans were pushing in order to get lower health cares, that is now out the window. Basically, with this third ruling from the Supreme Court, the Affordable Care Act is here to stay. The only way that we're going to see change now is if something is built upon it, right? Like, it's not going to be repealed and replaced. That's impossible. It's done. It's over. In fact, you probably don't even know that this happened, right? Why? Because Republicans don't want to talk about this and want to make sure that this gets swept under the rug as much as possible. And the Democrats aren't going to, they're still trying to make deals. So they're not going to, pound their fist and say, yeah, we were right. They're just like, hey, let's move on and let's try to build off of this. So if you are a fan of the Affordable Care Act, congratulations. This is a victory for you. And this solidifies it. It's here to stay. If you are not a fan of the Affordable Care Act, that's unfortunate, but you may as well get used to it because, again, it is here to stay. There is no way that the Republicans are going to go after this a fourth time, especially when there are other things that they're fighting against right now. So, it happens. Again, while it was seen as a bad law in the beginning, but hey, if we're looking at it from a national perspective, it's now here. It's here to stay, and hopefully they implement something for small businesses. But unfortunately, based off of what we're seeing now, it's going to be a little while before they do that. Okay, the last piece, and this is probably the most interesting. 130 nations agreed to support U.S. proposal for global minimum tax on corporations. That is amazing. So these 130 nations make up 90% of the GDP, global GDP. They said, and I also want to state that they have not agreed. Well, let me make sure I say this correctly. Where is it? 15%. Yellen's announcement did not include the actual rate at which the GMT would be set. So I'm taking that as they haven't actually agreed on what that global minimum tax rate would be. They've just agreed that it needs to happen. Now, this is pretty interesting, right? I mean, as you can see, 130 nations, that's huge. If you're a small business that is against globalization of economies, well, I don't know what to tell you, because regardless of what side you're on, that's been where we've been heading since once the internet hit, and well, really after World War II, once all America built up Europe. I mean, that was kind of the start of the globalization of economies. But regardless, once the internet hit, that kind of just solidified it even more so. But regardless, what we're seeing here, this is very important, because now there's going to be a global minimum tax rate that may, in some ways, level the playing field when it comes to countries like Western Europe who have higher tax rates versus other countries that may be a little bit lower. Now corporations can't leave for the most part to another country just to have ridiculous amounts of a tax rate, right? Depending upon how this goes, it may make sense for most corporations to just stay where they're at. Now, I see this global minimum tax rate being similar to the I can only think of minimum wage for the United States, where there's a minimum wage, but most states are above the minimum wage, right? Just simply because they want to attract people to come to them, right? With the global tax rate, minimum tax rate, I still see it, while it's going to be the minimum, I still see most countries are going to be over it, just to kind of help their economies any way they can. But this is really good because it's that minimum, and because nobody can just take full advantage of this type of strategy. I do feel as if, while again it's going to be some fluctuations, most are going to be closer to that global minimum wage, global minimum tax for corporations, which means it's benefiting the corporations themselves, sure, but this also, in my opinion, will allow corporations to stay where they're at. Which, if you're in the United States, this is really good, right? This is one of the biggest challenges that the country faces. So it's going to be interesting. The suggested tax rate is 15%, which, you know, it is what it is. At 15%, as you can see here, Biden administration's push for at least 15%. If that's where it comes in, that's fine, and then that's essentially where we're going to be moving forward from there. It is the one piece that I was kind of curious about is, okay, if there's a minimum tax rate, so that means that's going to go straight to the corporation. I mean, straight to the governments, I guess, which is why they're doing this, which is going to be pretty interesting, and it's also going to benefit some of these countries that felt forced to kind of lower their tax rates, for the corporations that choose to stay. Now, maybe some corporations will leave because they're just saying, I get the same tax rate back home. We'll see. And also, you know, does that 15%, is that off of, you know, the country's currency? Right, because I would still pay 15% if the currency isn't worth as much, right? Versus, well, no, that was still 15% of the dollar still. So never mind, that wouldn't even work either. So we'll see how this goes. Still pretty interesting. You know, it's a start, and you know, just really want small businesses that are listening to kind of, you know, see where it's going, because, you know, as we move forward, as we see these countries combining more into a global economy, this may be the start to where it may start affecting small businesses who are looking to do global transactions. And some may be in a bad way, and when we're looking at taxes and how that may be treated, some may actually be in a good way, right? Now it may be easier for you it may lower tariffs, right? It may make it easier for you to do transactions overseas, which right now it can get really complicated. But, you know, if everybody's on the same framework, then it may make things such as like filing your taxes a lot easier. So some good and some bad. We'll see where this goes, but definitely wanted to make sure that you're aware of this. All right. With that being said, as always, thank you so much for your time. Make sure you follow our channel, leave a like, comment, and share with other people you think may be interested in this content. All right. Thank you so much, and have a great day.